After ABBA ended, Benny Andersson faced one of the hardest adjustments of his life: silence. For years, his days had been filled with rehearsals, performances, recording sessions, and interviews. Suddenly, there were no crowds, no cameras, no flights to catch. It was both peaceful and frightening. Many artists struggle with this kind of transition, and Benny was no exception. But instead of chasing fame again, he turned inward. He began to spend more time with his wife, Mona, and their son, Ludwig, rediscovering the small joys of life that had once been lost in the chaos of celebrity. He found comfort in nature, in quiet walks, and in simple routines that grounded him. In several interviews, Benny admitted that the quiet years helped him heal emotionally. For the first time, he said, "I could breathe. I could think about who I really was, not Benny from ABBA, just Benny." Those reflective years gave him perspective. He learned to appreciate what he had built, not just the fame, but the art that had touched millions. He realized that while the world had moved on to new trends, ABBA songs still played everywhere, proof that what they created was timeless. Even during his quiet years, Benny never truly stopped making music. It wasn't in his nature to rest for long. He found peace not in retirement but in creativity. He often said that music is not a career for him, it's simply who he is. After the success of Chess, which he co-wrote with Bjorn and lyricist Tim Rice, Benny continued composing for stage productions, TV, and even film scores. In 1997, he founded Benny Andersson's Orchestra, BehindTheScenes, a project that allowed him to mix Swedish folk traditions with his own melodic genius. The orchestra became surprisingly popular, and their concerts often sold out. The music was different from ABBA's softer, warmer, more nostalgic. It reflected a man who had lived through both joy and pain. Through Bo, Benny also reconnected with old friends and musicians who shared his deep love for storytelling through sound. His compositions from this period, full of accordions, fiddles, and rich harmonies, spoke to the Swedish countryside he had loved since childhood. In many ways, Bow became his way of going home, not physically, but spiritually. It was music without pressure, without expectation. It was music for the heart. By the time Benny reached his 70s, he had seen everything: fame, fortune, love, heartbreak, and redemption. In his recent reflections, he spoke openly about what he learned from all of it. He said that success had once meant being on top of the charts, but now it meant being content with who he is. When you're young, you think the world is waiting for you, he explained. But when you get older, you realize it's you who must learn to wait for the world. This simple thought shows how deeply Benny has matured. He also talked about his relationship with Annifrid, his former bandmate and ex. Although their marriage ended decades ago, they still share respect and friendship. Benny admitted that some of their most emotional songs were inspired by their real-life struggles. He said, "We put our hearts into the music, even when they were breaking." His honesty about that time shows a rare kind of wisdom. He no longer sees his past with regret, only gratitude. Every joy, every mistake, every heartbreak taught him something valuable about being human. Over the years, people have often asked Benny why ABBA's songs continue to touch people across generations. His answer is simple but profound. He says that ABBA's music was never just about disco or pop, it was about emotion. Behind every beat and melody, there was truth. The Winner Takes It All was about loss. Dancing Queen was about the joy of youth. Fernando was about nostalgia and longing. "We didn't write songs to please the radio," Benny once said. "We wrote them to say what we felt." That authenticity is what makes their songs so timeless. While many bands of the 70s have faded from memory, ABBA's music has grown stronger with age. New artists continue to cover their songs, and millions of young fans discover them every year. The Mamma Mia! Movies introduced ABBA to a new global audience, proving that genuine emotion never goes out of style. Benny sees this as the band's greatest achievement, not the record sales, but the connection with people's hearts. "If our songs made someone smile, cry, or dance," he said, "then we did our job." In 2021, the world was stunned when ABBA announced a brand new album, Voyage, and a digital concert experience featuring virtual versions of their younger selves. For Benny, this project was both emotional and historic. He spent years in the studio recreating the magic of ABBA's sound while embracing new technology. The group reunited, not just for nostalgia, but to prove that creativity has no age limit. The songs on Voyage, like I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down, carried themes of reflection, forgiveness, and enduring friendship. Benny said that recording those songs brought back powerful memories. "It felt like no time had passed," he admitted. "We laughed, we cried, and we remembered what it felt like to sing together." Fans around the world responded with love and emotion. For many, the reunion felt like reconnecting with an old friend they never forgot. For Benny, it was also a way to close a circle, to finish what had once been left open. He described the experience as coming home after a long journey. After 7 decades in music, Benny Andersson has learned lessons that go far beyond fame. He often says that music has been his best teacher. It taught him patience, humility, and the beauty of collaboration. "No one creates alone," he once said. "Every song, every note, is built on someone else's sound. someone else's story. This humble view of his own success is part of what makes Benny so beloved. Unlike many artists who chase the spotlight, Benny never tried to be a celebrity. He only wanted to make good music, and that's exactly what he did. Today, he encourages young musicians to focus not on fame but on honesty. If you make music for yourself, he says, you'll always have an audience, even if it's just one person. These words reflect his quiet wisdom, a man who has seen the world, yet still finds joy in a single melody played well. When asked what he listens to today, Benny smiled and said, silence. It has its own rhythm. It's a beautiful answer from someone who has spent a lifetime filling the powdered world with sound. Benny's later years have been filled with gratitude and family. His son Ludwig followed in his footsteps and became a musician too, even performing with Bo. Benny takes great pride in watching his son grow, not just as an artist but as a person. Family has become his greatest comfort, far more important than fame or awards. He also maintains a quiet faith, not tied to religion, but to humanity and kindness. He believes that life's purpose is simple: to create, to love, and to leave something meaningful behind. For Benny, that something is his music. When he looks back now, he feels proud but also humbled. He knows that not everyone gets to touch the hearts of millions. I've been lucky, he said in one interview, very lucky, and I don't take it for granted. Despite his age, he continues to write and play almost every day. His fingers might be slower, but his heart still beats to the rhythm of the piano keys. It's not about making hits anymore, it's about keeping the fire alive. When Benny finally confirmed the truth about her, fans were curious. Who was her? Some thought he meant Innifred, others Agnetha, or perhaps even a symbolic her representing music itself. In truth, Benny's words were poetic. He said, the real her has always been the music. She never leaves you. She forgives, she comforts, and she listens. For Benny, music was the love that stayed. Even when relationships ended, fame faded, or the spotlight dimmed, music was always there to guide him. It's the only constant that never betrayed him. This revelation touched fans deeply. It showed that Benny's greatest love story wasn't with a person, but with the art of creation itself. His statement also helped explain why he never fully stopped composing, because for him, music is not just work or passion, it's companionship. At 78, Benny Andersson's truth is both personal and universal, no matter how much the world changes. The things we love most define who we are. Today, ABBA's influence can be seen everywhere, from music to fashion, movies to me. Young artists cite them as inspiration, and their songs appear in commercials, weddings, and even political rallies. But Benny's proudest achievement isn't fame or money, it's that their music continues to bring people together. That's what music is for, he says. It reminds us we're not alone. When fans sing along to thank you for the music, it's more than nostalgia, it's gratitude. They are thanking ABBA for giving the world a soundtrack to love, dance, and dream, too. Benny often says he doesn't think much about legacy, but deep down, he knows that ABBA's story will outlive them all. The melodies he wrote decades ago will still echo long after he's gone. And that thought doesn't make him sad, it makes him smile, because he knows he has given the world something that can never be taken away. For decades, few bands have captured the world's heart quite like ABBA, with their bright costumes, catchy melodies, and unforgettable harmonies. ABBA's songs became a universal language of joy. From Dancing Queen to Mamma Mia, their music continues to lift spirits and fill dance floors around the world. But behind the glitter and fame, there was also a human story, one filled with struggle, heartbreak, and personal reflection. At the center of this story stands Benny Andersson, the quiet, creative force whose melodies helped define a generation. While his music spoke loudly, Benny himself often remained silent about his private life and emotional journey. For years, he avoided the spotlight outside of his work, letting his songs tell his story. But now, at the age of 78, Benny has finally decided to open up. He's spoken about his past, his loves, his losses, and the price he paid for a life lived under constant attention. His reflections remind us that even the brightest stars carry shadows behind their light, and that behind every legendary song, there's a human being searching for peace. Benny Andersson's journey began in Stockholm, Sweden, where he was born on December 16, 1946. His father worked as a civil engineer, and his mother cared for the home, but music was already running through the family's veins. His father and grandfather both played the accordion, and their home was often filled with lively tunes and laughter. When Benny was 6, his father and grandfather gave him his own accordion, a gift that changed his life forever. He quickly fell in love with music and spent hours experimenting with sounds, teaching himself to play by ear. By age 10, he had his first piano, and his fascination with melodies only grew stronger. Unlike many children, Benny didn't need lessons or formal training to master the keys. He learned by listening, by feeling. Music became his escape, his language, his world. School, on the other hand, never truly interested him. He left formal education at 15, determined to follow his passion and turn his love for music into a career. Those early years, filled with Swedish folk songs and pop records, would shape the sound that later enchanted millions. Benny's first big leap into music came during his teenage years. He began performing in small clubs, playing energetic songs that got young audiences dancing. Around that time, he met his first love, Christina. Their bond was strong, and together, they started a small family, welcoming two children, Peter, in 1963, and Helen, in 1965. But Benny's dreams were much bigger than the small stages. He joined his first professional group, Elverket Spelmanslag, a light-hearted folk band that mixed humor and harmony. It wasn't fame, but it was a start. In 1964, his career took a huge turn when he joined the Hepstars as a keyboardist. Within months, their cover of Cadillac became a hit in Sweden, and Benny suddenly found himself a teenage idol. He began writing songs for the group, showing a natural gift for melody and emotional storytelling. Songs like Sunny Girl and Weddings showed that Benny wasn't just a performer, he was a true composer. But fame brought pressure. The long tours and late nights strained his relationship with Christina. By the late 1960s, their love had faded, leaving Benny heartbroken but more determined than ever to focus on music. Destiny introduced Benny to Björn Ulvaeus, a member of another popular Swedish band, the Hootenanny Singers. The two instantly clicked, bonding over their shared love for melody and clever lyrics. They wrote their first song together, Isn't It Easy to Say? And the chemistry was undeniable. What began as a casual friendship quickly became one of the greatest songwriting partnerships in pop history. Around this time, Benny also met Frid Lyngstad, a talented singer with a soulful voice and a strong spirit. Their musical connection soon grew into love. Meanwhile, Björn had fallen for another rising star, Agnetha Folkskog, whose angelic voice could melt hearts. These two couples didn't yet know it, but they were building the foundation for one of the most iconic bands the world would ever know. In 1970, the four began performing together under the playful name Festfolk, meaning party people. Their early performances weren't always successful, but something magical was happening in their harmonies. The unique blend of Agnetha's sweet soprano, Frid's deep contralto, and the songwriting brilliance of Benny and Björn created a sound unlike anything else. Slowly, but surely, ABBA was being born. By 1973, the group officially became ABBA, a name created from the first letters of their names, Agnetha, Björn, Benny, and Annie. They entered the Melodifestival competition with the song Ring Ring, which became a local hit despite not winning. The next year, they returned with Waterloo, and this time, they took the world by storm when they performed it at the 1974 Eurovision Song Contest in Brighton, England. Their colorful costumes, catchy chorus, and lively energy won over the audience instantly. Waterloo topped charts across Europe and even reached the top 10 in the United States. ABBA had arrived. What followed was a golden decade of worldwide success. With hits like SOS, Mamma Mia, Fernando, and Dancing Queen, ABBA became one of the biggest pop acts in history. Their songs captured joy, love, heartbreak, and hope in a way that people everywhere could relate to. Behind the scenes, Benny worked tirelessly, crafting melodies that sounded effortless but were full of detail and emotion. Dancing Queen became their signature song, an anthem of youth and celebration that still plays at weddings and parties around the globe. Kaboot! As ABBA's fame soared, the pressures of success began to take a toll. The constant touring, interviews, and media attention were exhausting. Both couples, Benny and Björn and Agnetha, struggled to balance their personal lives with the band's non-stop schedule. By 1979, Björn and Agnetha announced their divorce, a painful moment that inspired one of ABBA's most emotional songs, The Winner Takes It All. Agnetha's haunting performance made listeners feel every ounce of heartbreak. For Benny and Frid, the strain also became unbearable. Their relationship, once filled with music and passion, slowly broke apart, and they divorced in 1981. Despite the personal pain, the group continued to make music, often channeling their real emotions into their songs. Tracks like One of Us and When All Is Said and Done revealed their sadness and maturity. Benny later admitted that these were some of the hardest years of his life. Fame had given him everything he dreamed of,